Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
No.
Sir,
Okay.
would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name for the record.
Yes, ma'am. Sergeant Washington here in Madison Parish Correctional.
All right, thanks Sergeant Washington for accommodating us this morning.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
Ms. Reese, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number, please.
My name is Jimmie Variste, DOC number 484458.
All right, good morning, sir. And you have counsel this morning. Would counsel please introduce yourself for the record?
Good morning, board. My name is Joylyn Hollis here on behalf of Mr. Jimmie Variste.
We'll let you wrap it up at the end if that's okay with you.
That's perfect. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Varese, I'll read some identifying information into the record. Ask you to verify that information. Your case has been assigned to Mr. Freeman, seated to my far right. So he'll take the lead on the interview. I want to acknowledge some folks who have joined us by Zoom. We have your parents, Ms. Darlene and Mr. Tommy Varese, your sister Shavia Varese Lopez, Jamie Giardina with Keep It Real, and Belinda Parker Brown with Louisiana United International. We will allow your parents and Ms. Lopez to speak on your behalf, and you're allowed to make a statement before we turn it over to Ms. Hollis to wrap it up. Okay. So, Mr. Varese, you are seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in June 2004 in Orleans Parish for an armed robbery conviction. You received a 27-year sentence. You do have a good time mandatory release date, which is in December of 2025. Is that information correct?
Correct.
All right. Would you answer Mr. Freeman's questions, please?
Okay, Mr. Varese, how old are you?
40,
How long have you served on this charge?
19 years and 8 months.
How many times have you been arrested beside this charge?
1, 2. I want to say twice maybe.
Right, but no conviction. You are first felony offender.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I only had one arrest, by the way, but that it could be twice. So you were arrested for armed robbery. Obviously, you used to work at that restaurant.
Yes, sir.
Now, how long you worked there?
I worked there for about 8 months, 8.5 months, roughly.
Okay, did they dismiss you for using the telephone?
Correct.
Okay. Have you ever used any drugs, alcohol?
No, sir.
Okay, no drugs, alcohol.
No,
So
sir.
why did you commit this crime? I mean, what was motivation?
I committed the crime. I got fired, and I want to say that I got mad. I got angry, and so I waited like a month after they fired me, and I went back and robbed them. So I want to see it was behind me being mad, angry, and so I went back and robbed the restaurant, the gumbo shop.
What did you do with the money?
I bought my girlfriend a ring. We got tattoos of each other's names. I bought some clothes for her infant daughter, and that was about it. Then I got arrested the next day.
Okay, well, you did a lot of shopping real quick, huh?
Well, I ain't gonna say it was a lot of shopping, but I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it.
Okay. Yeah, you look at the law enforcement, the judge. You only had your only conviction is the instant offense. The judge had no comment. District attorney takes no position. The sheriff of Orleans takes no position. The superintendent as a policy of opposition. Your family or Darlene Thompson Maurice, your mother, is unopposed and will assist you in any way. The victim, we spoke to Gary McAllister, the current manager of the gumbo shop, and he is unopposed. The manager is unopposed. The owner at the now deceased. So you have no supervision record. And that's the Leo statement. What is your job in prison?
I'm currently idle. I was just transferred to Madison Correction. I'm currently idle right now.
Okay, how long have you been in Madison?
I've been in Madison, I want to say a little over 4 months.
Okay, where were you before that?
I was at Franklin Parish in Winsboro.
How long you
Winsboro,
stayed
Montana.
there?
I was a cook.
Okay, but how long you stayed in Winsboro?
5.5 years, right at 6 years.
Okay. You had any write-ups while you were at Winsboro?
No, sir.
Okay, the deputy was in there. Did y'all have any problems with Ms. Variste? Any write-ups? Is someone still in there or not?
Yes.
This is-
Yes, sir.
Have y'all had any problems with Mr. Variste?
No, sir.
Okay, and he's been there about 4 months.
Yes, sir. Right at 4 months. We never had a problem out of him.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Your risk is low, your need is moderate. What's your transition plan? Where you gonna live if you get out?
I'm gonna live with my parents.
Okay, do they have your job lined up? I mean, you're young, you're definitely eligible to work.
Yes, sir.
Okay, where you gonna be working at?
With my younger brother, Clarence
Oh.
Thompson.
What does he do?
He owned a vending machine company. His own.
All right, you have plenty letters of recommendation. I'm not gonna get into those. I see, what club were you members of while you was in prison?
Oh, I was part of the JCs.
Okay, what did you learn from the JC?
The JCs give back. We used to help the elderly mostly in elderly inmates. We used to throw them bingo games, give them hamburgers, wash their wheelchairs for them, push them to the infirmary, back and forth, volunteer. I was my position was the sergeant at arms, and then I made sure it's order in the whole room. Make sure everybody go to these seats correctly. Make sure the noise down. That was my position, sergeant at arms.
All right. Have you taken any classes?
Yes, sir.
What have you taken?
I have a list right here.
Okay, give me a couple of them that you learned the most from.
I learned the most from Cage of Rage, because that's what led me to committing the crime. And then I learned how to control my feelings. I learned to think before I do anything. Most importantly, I like it going home, staying home, because they had visitors coming to the prisons, and I wanted to learn defocus because they was also inmates, but they successful on the street. So I wanted to learn defocus on how they do that. So I used to talk to them a lot. I like the Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous because those people have real life stories. And even though I didn't use drugs, I still want to learn defocus also, which I thought was real great. And I learned how to write my first check. My first check with Money Smart.
Mhm.
My very first check.
What is your educational level, Mr. Variste?
I graduated high school.
I said, I don't know if they go to bed, but he's over there doing the first.
Okay, I have no further questions, Mr. Rock.
I have a couple of questions. Mr. Variste, I noticed in your record that you total loss of good time of 318 days. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so, but you have been able to restore 300 of those hours.
Oh, yeah. I got back the whole 318.
Well, maybe I missed some of it, but I see that most of it was. When was your last write-up?
August 1st, 2016.
Where were you?
I was at DCI, Dixon
Yeah.
Correctional.
Is that where you lost most of that time? Was at DCI?
Yes, ma'am. In the early part of my prison sentence when I was young.
And you had a hard time adjusting. I do see in the record, we have a very good letter from the transition specialist in Franklin Parish, commending you on the programs that you were able to take advantage of. And they believe that you will do well if released. How are you different from the man that was at DCI?
I am different because I didn't pay attention to my surroundings mostly, to where I don't stumble, going backwards. So the whole goal for me is to move forward, be alert, be responsible, and just to remain on the task at hand, which is returning home, regaining my freedom. And 20 years is a very long time, but it's up to that person what you do with your time. Either you could go backwards or you could go forward. You could pick one. And so I chose to go forward. I mean, I heard my victims. I think about them every day. Every day I wake up in prison, I'm reminded of the crime that I committed. Because they also served 20 years with me. Also, my parents also served 20 years with me. So the focus is always going forward.
All right, good. Well, I don't see any other questions, so we're going to hear from your. Let's hear from them. Ms. Darlene.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. What would you like us to know?
It's like over the years, I've seen the growth in Jimmie through the phone calls, the letters, the visits when we were able to visit during the early years before we got sick, and the many accomplishments. He has tons of certificates. I want to say maybe about 15, where he's completed different programs. And that shows that Jimmie wants to change his life for the better. And I really believe that Jimmie is sorry for the crimes that he committed 19 and a half years ago. He's very messed. I mean, I would just love to spend some quality time, with my son. I think I just know he's sorry for what he's done. And he just became a better person over those years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tommy Variste?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, sir. Is there something you'd like to say?
Yes, I've been on dialysis for 4.5 years. and I just received my kidney about a year ago. And you know, my body is getting worse, and I would like to spend the little time I got with my son. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Miss Lopez,
Yes, ma'am.
go ahead.
Hi. First of all, thank you all for your time. It means a lot to our family. I was 10 and a half years old when my brother went to prison, and I'm 29 years old now. A lot has happened in those 19 years. I mean, I remember the last conversation my brother had as a free man, him telling me that he wanted to take me to Celebration Station. After seeing my report card, and hopefully, you know, now that I understand his crimes and I understand that how sorry he is for his crimes and that he is a better man, hopefully we will still be able to get to take that trip to Celebration Station upon his release. So thank you all for listening to me, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Jimmie, Mr. Variste, is there something you'd like to say before we turn it over to Ms. Hollis?
Hearing my family, hearing my family say the things about.
Come on, Jimmy.
I mean, hearing my family see what they see does not just makes me ever want to be the best Jimmie that I always can be. It had always been in me. I mean, it didn't have to take 20 years for me to change. One mistake cost me 27 years of my life. I mean, I heard a lot of people in the process, and at the time I wasn't thinking about nobody else feelings but mine. That's why I did. That's why I did. I just want to put smiles on people's faces. That's the person who I am. Seeing other people happy, putting other people's feelings first. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hollis.
Good morning, board. I am Joylyn Hollis. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Jimmie Variste. Just want to wrap up all of the points that were made today. The main of which is that Mr. Jimmie is not the same person he was when he committed this crime. One of the things in preparation that we talked about that he didn't really get to touch on is his actions. That if he had the opportunity to apologize and to go back into the world, that he is going to earn his freedom through his actions. He's going to think before he speaks. He's going to think about how he moves in the community. One of the things we have Creep It Real Ministries, as well as Miss Belinda Parker Brown, who's a part of Louisiana United International, who have wraparound services. As you can see, he's also has a family that he's going back to in St. Helena Parish. There's not any return to the place where the incident occurred. And he's looking forward to the opportunity to prove, as he's proven on the inside, hasn't had a write-up in years, and has done a good job. He wants to feed people and, put smiles on their face, like he said. So we humbly ask that you.
Thank you. All All right, I think we are prepared to vote. Mr. Freeman will be voting first.
Okay, Mr. Varese, I will say I did enjoy your interview this morning. You have a good prison record. You have good letters of recommendation. Your whole future is in front of you. I mean, up of what, 40 years old?
40, correct. 40.
I got you. And so my vote today is gonna be to commute your sentence to 22 years. The grant you to 22 years. Should make you immediately eligible.
Thank you.
Ms. Varese, it was certainly a delight listening to you. I don't think I've ever seen someone as positive and up as you are after having served the amount of time you served in prison. And something tells me that when you were sergeant at arms, you took that pretty seriously.
I did.
I know you did. I can tell. Yeah, and I was very impressed by you today. You served time well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Deserve to be released.
Thank
So
you.
my new grant to recommend a commutation to 22 years.
Mr. Ray.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Varese, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. My vote is to commute the sentence to 22 years with parole eligibility after serving 19 years.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Marabella.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Varese, it was a pleasure listening to you. It's clear to me that you learned your lesson. You indicated as best you could what you did. You were angry, and you were very honest with us today. My vote is likewise the same to recommend grant of commutation to 22 years. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
My vote also is to, for the commutation of 22 years with parole eligibility after having served 19 years. I think we have to specify the parole eligibility because of the.
I will concur with that as well.
19 years. Okay. So, Mr. Varese, we're going to make a recommendation on your behalf that your sentence be commuted to 22 years and that you be parole eligible really immediately after having served 19 years. So good luck to you. Sir. Good luck to you. All right, I think that concludes our business in Madison. So we will sign off at Madison. It's 9:54 a.m.
Do I have to go back and put the 19?
I'll put it. No, I'll do it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, what is the reason?
Thank you, board.
Thank you, everyone, so much. Thank you.
You all did a
There you have it. I agree with what Ms. Jackson says. I've never seen anyone who seemed to have so much, to be so upbeat and not bitter about really just being locked away for a good part of his life. He was 20 years old when they locked him up and threw the book at him and gave him a 27-year sentence. He's 40 years old now. He served 19 years and 8 months for an armed robbery. He had no record. One other arrest. They give 27-year sentences to him, but they give 5 years to cockroaches, 3 years to cockroaches, 7 years to cockroaches. You have a guy who gets in a vehicle and drives and takes a few lives. After a 7th, 8th, 9th shot, he gets less time. But no, You're 20 years old and you rob a store. 27 years. And as far as I can tell, because I looked at the research, he took a plea deal. He didn't go to trial. This isn't one of the situations where he went to trial and they decided to throw the book at him. No, he said, I'm going to plead guilty, and a judge still gave him 27 years. You can't make it up. Why? He might not be bitter, and good for him, but man, it pisses me off. And he has a good time date, it seems, in like a year, and I don't know how long it's going to take for the governor to sign this, and then he has to get a parole hearing. So we're going to see him again, by the way. That's the way that this works, assuming the governor signs it. But, we've seen things where the governor waits 6 months to sign something. So it's like, is someone going to call him up and say, hey, this is on your desk. This is a travesty. Please sign it today. We'll know because we'll see him in another parole hearing. This was just a recommendation to the governor. The only court transcripts I can find is he tried to get some information and wanted it for free. I'll put the link in here. It's not something worth going into, but they basically denies him. The cost-free production of the transcript of his guilty plea. Wanted that. He was sentenced to term in prison 27 years in 2004. And because he did not seek an appeal, his sentence became final. He did not have good proper representation. We can obviously see here. It's he goes to plead guilty, but then somehow still gets the book thrown at him. It doesn't make sense. You plead guilty and still get 27 years. And then he never had anyone file an appeal. He ended up filing an appeal 8 years after the expiration of the limitation period for filing an appeal. That's what I'm reading. I'll drop it in the link. I'm just trying to picture a moment where he's sitting in front of and these things can happen in in minutes. He gets up there in his jail uniform with the handcuffs on his legs and his hands, and he has his public attorney there, and then the judge says, you're going to plead guilty. There's the minimum sentence of 2 years and the maximum sentence of 50 years. And the DA says, we're recommending blah, blah, blah. And then his defense attorney would say blah, blah, blah. And then the judge would say, I'm going to give you 27 years. And I just wonder what the DA was recommending. Like, who would plead guilty if the DA was recommending 27 years? It's just, from a 20-year-old perspective, that would feel like a life sentence. And he spent half his life locked up. And we don't have details of the crime because he pled guilty. We don't know, did he go in there and do something crazy and violent, but it doesn't seem that way. He's a little immature kid, and then he got tattoos from his girlfriend and got cocky. I just, man, that must be frustrating looking at that tattoo while locked up. I don't. I just get enraged. It's how do we see these incredible sentences given to people who derail a child's life, and for this they throw the bucket in? Why? Now you might say on the flip side, you know, he's done well and this and that, but that doesn't make a difference. First of all, he probably could have done well with a 10-year sentence. I have heard from, you know, and other things, I've heard many people say, man, I wish I had gotten a long sentence at the beginning of my criminal career. I've seen that on other YouTube channels, a lot of inmate interviews. You know, like I only got 2-year sentences. If I had gotten a big sentence early on, it would have been great. But that doesn't mean that it's okay to give someone a 27-year sentence for this. And what would have been wrong with a 10-year sentence or 15 years? He served 19.8 years. The system's broken. It really is. It's a broken system. And that's why we show this. That's why we show this. But with that, I'll let you go. And please do the YouTube thing. It really does help.